Which brings us to Khazad-dûm and the dwarf storyline once Elrond gets there, which is only in the second episode. That the first two episodes of The Lord of the Rings were released back to back. They were right to do that. It introduces this whole other set of characters, this whole other world. Uh, Very good throughout. I really think this is the only familiar location that we've seen so far that was recognizable even as a ruin. I mean, movie-only people haven't seen the Northern Waste. They don't know what Lindon is, much less the Southlands is unrecognizable to, I know basically it must be Nirn or something, but in Rovanian, people don't know that. Versus, whoa, it's Khazad-dûm. This is a major selling point, and they did it very well because it's all described in The Lord of the Rings itself. That Gimli gives very lengthy descriptions and evocative descriptions of what Khazad-dûm was like before the fall. That he says it wasn't this scary, dark ruin, that it was filled with light. And not just torches, he says we had these like reflecting mirrors and crystals that reflected the light in such a way that there was sunlight underground, that it comes in through skylights that are inaccessible from the ground, that go up in the middle of the mountains, bring sunbeams down, and then we use crystals to focus them. And it was really bright and filled with a whole society and artwork and civilization was down here. This isn't just a city, it's a country underground. And they worked all that out, and it wasn't just showing off little things. It looked like a functional city, not just like Rube Goldberg devices for the sake of it. And you saw people getting haircuts, people doing trade, dwarves just walking around, terraced gardens, and it looked really impressive. Visually, it was everything I could ask for, book accurate on top of that. And like I said, this is the one point where the music really grabbed me so far. Bear McCreary's good, he just has an opportunity to flex his muscles yet. It's only been 2 episodes. This was the song I wanted to re-listen to. He explained at Comic-Con, well, they should sound, this is before the fall, so they should sound upbeat and industrious. They're not sad yet, because Khazad-dûm hasn't fallen. It was really nice. That was done very well with the upbeat music and just little details. I like that they wear forge masks. That's a thing from the Silmarillion, that they say, well, their soldiers wear like these full masks off their helmets into battle that double as forge masks. And it's one of the reasons they were able to face Dragonfire kind of well compared to other people, is they're used to being in forges with these forge masks, like welding masks almost. The whole thing was well written, with the dialogue was good. Again, that they don't talk like Vulcans, like the elves. They talk, relatively normal. They're boisterous. They completely made up that, oh well, I challenge you to a rock smashing contest as a friendly thing, but he knew he would lose. It was to get him his foot in the door so he could talk to him. That was great. That was another one of those 8 out of 10 moments where the rose from a 7 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 for me. Not the visuals. Visuals are great. But the elevator scene where it's just that him talking about, you've been gone 20 years, and I know that's a blink of an eye for an elf, but I've lived a life since then. Like, I got married, I had 2 children. And elves, you forget how much time passes for mortals. And Elrond honestly feels bad about it. It's just our sense of time is different. So that is like a thematic thing with the books, actually, who wants to live forever and all of that. And Tolkien said one of the core things is the trouble of immortality and your struggle with that and sense of time, where it felt like real characterization and intimate character moment, a real feeling for these people. That was a great moment from that. That all worked out. I just all the little culture details, like the forge masks. I like that when you have someone make a tiny expletive like Jesus Christ, like they wouldn't say that because Jesus hasn't been born yet, or little things like that. That this isn't in the books, but they have dwarves casually swear by Alway's beard, because Alway is the Vala who created the dwarves, of the Council of Archangels who rule over the world for God. Alway is the smith. That they're like gods, but they're really archangels. He's the smith. And the dwarves venerate him because that he created them. Physically, even though God gave them souls, it's a whole thing. Whereas the elves venerate Varda, who is that's her Quenya name. She's called Elbereth. You've probably heard them swearing by Elbereth in The Lord of the Rings itself. She's the Enkindler. Varda made the stars from the dew of the two trees. She enkindled the stars and everything. So she's the Lady of Light, Lady of the Stars. And the elves venerate her as their patron saint of sorts, and the dwarves, it's always the center. They talk about this behind the scenes videos. We wanted to show the dwarves have their own separate culture, religion almost, and it's distinct from the elves, and it's their own thing. It's not bad. It's just they're their whole society unto themselves, and that they'd swear by everything. They'd swear by Alway's beard. Was really fun. That they have little things, little details here and there like that. I really liked during the fourth with Disa that they're like woodchucks in heat. The repartee that she's like, oh, sacred hospitality, let's invite him to dinner. And he's trying to be friendly with them, talking up what they're doing. That all worked out pretty well for me. One thing I thought was I was expecting that it didn't happen was, like I said, with the race stuff, that, oh, you cast a black woman. I understand it went, oh, there's 7 clans of dwarves. We never even saw 4 of them in the books. Maybe the ones from the south look black. But she mentioned, oh, I'm from Khazad-dûm. I was worried about that at first. Well, how do we fit that in? But Khazad-dûm's actually pretty cosmopolitan. That there's 2 other dwarf clans we know about. The Broadbeams, who are from Belagost, and the Firebeards, who are from Nogrod. They're 2 other big of the original 7. They were dwarf clan cities in the Blue Mountains. They got destroyed in the war against Morgoth. And the refugees from the Broadbeams and the Firebeards fled to Khazad-dûm. And, the Firebeards are jerks, really, but the Broadbeams are there, and you would expect to see dwarves from other clans living in Khazad-dûm in this time period. It says it's swelled with members from other clans. So they have trade networks. So, okay, maybe she's from one of the southern clans, even if she was born in Khazad-dûm. I know this is playing around with. My thing is, if you're going to change a character's race, you need to have, like, one line, like a throwaway line going, oh yeah, I'm from one of the southern clans, and never speak of it again, because that's enough explanation. But, then again, they don't need to explain. I'll talk about this more with, like, the Southlands. You don't even need to explain that, because the original showed that that's what humans from that part of the world look like. But similarly with the Harfoots and stuff, it's my complaint is, you said things in interviews that, oh, well, there's different tribes, which made sense to me. You should say that in the episode to make it clear to people who aren't reading the interviews. I want them to repeat things they did say in cast interviews. I just want them to say in the episode, and that'll be fine, just so we can point to it to the racists. We can point to it to shut them up, and just, dude, there's different tribes. Shut up and move on. This is a fun character, and I like her. So, whatever with that. That doesn't bother me, though. They'll probably give a throwaway line about it later. She was really nice. The one thing that they felt very humanizing, even if they're dwarves, that after all these stiff elves who were kind of Vulcan-y, to have Durin and Disa just bickering, but then going about how much they love each other, it was really fun and humanizing. Boisterous. And I'm all for it. The dwarves are my favorite race and everything. Because, their stubborn determination in everything they do. That's me. But the one thing that was weird, I will judge when it happens in a later episode. That tease at the end, that Tarantino, style Pulp Fiction tease where they open a box and it's glowing. It's his father during the third. And he goes, "Does the elf know yet?" And he goes, well, no, I don't think he suspects, but look, we should hear out his proposal, Father. I think we should try to give him a shot. He's like, we can't trust the elves. And it's, please tell me they didn't find a Silmaril, the one that was thrown in the earth. That would be quite a stretch and be playing with the lore a lot. I'm hoping it's that he found Mithril, because this is around the time they discovered Mithril, give or take, and that it's super silver. In their tongue, Mithril means true silver. that it's as light as a feather, but it's stronger than steel, and it looks kind of like silver. It's very pretty. So Mithril is great. If we found Mithril and we're going to make superior weapons with it, which we could defeat everyone, including the elves, with, fine. I'll be upset if it's a Silmaril. That would be quite the change. But it hasn't happened yet, so I'll judge it when it happens. Let's leave off. There's a tease of other things happening. But start to finish, Khazad-dûm was great, other than the general things of, if you're going to change things, you should say the things you said in interviews so it's clear to the casual audience, because I'm reading the interviews, I don't know if other people do. But in terms of showing the point the dwarves are at in this world, and I think this is a real highlight, because again, this is like the one familiar location people would really see yet. I mean, the Shire will not appear in this show, or maybe like a flash forward in the final season. I guess we'd see Gondor being founded very, like, season 4-ish. Rohan won't be around for thousands of years. We should see Lothlorien being built established at some point, but Khazad-dûm is the big familiar location, and it did not disappoint. Visually, in terms of the design and thought that went into it, the music, the tone, the pacing, all good. I was pretty happy with how they handled the dwarves, and they were right to release this as a double premiere to get to this good stuff with Khazad-dûm. And you will notice that I keep referring to it as Khazad-dûm and not Moria, because Khazad-dûm means Mansion of the Dwarves, Moria means Dark Pit. And you'll see me try to do this consistently. I only call it Moria after the Balrog drove the dwarves out and turned it into a place of evil in its ruins. That even the dwarves say we didn't call it Moria until after it fell, the Black Pit. We called it Khazad-dûm. And I think they're being consistent about that here, that not once did I hear them refer to it as Moria. Because it's Khazad-dûm for the dwarves. So that covers them. I really like that. I wish we'll see them more. Just because they're my favorites. Some people, the elves are their favorites, some are Harfoots. For me, it's a toss-up between the dwarves and Gondor, but Numenor is different from Gondor. I'm not comparing the two, so very specific histories. That covers the dwarves. Now I will move on to the Harfoots and the humans in the Southlands to round this out. My overall impression by the first 2 episodes.